balance, fall prevention, muscle mass maintenance, metabolic health, all really hinges on the hinges of the foot. Retreats are a place to drop in often of like, okay, we all decided to do this together. We've all been reading similar books or interested in the same topics, and then it sort of creates community, and then you make friends, and they stick with you for a long time. So live events are still an essential for me. They will always be, because I just don't think anything replaces the in-person instruction and the friendships or the relationships that you get in those spaces. When you come for a few days, you're just like, and your body can warm up and stay supple enough, and you can get underneath the thing that you couldn't ever get to feel, because who takes that many days to sort of work on your own body in your regular life, let alone just your feet or just your legs? We'll be working on all of the legs as a whole and through the hips and the pelvic floor too, but you just don't give yourself that time. And that's what I find about retreating is, and it's kind of an interesting word, you're retreating from the world, but really so that you can go towards something. You're going towards it. It's the opposite of retreating. What happens at a retreat? The retreat is a container, but what's happening is the much more direct line to what it is that you've been trying to learn or to embody. Well, you can expect a lot of movement. We will be moving almost all class hours long. But I know that can be fatiguing. I've taught many retreats and, many longer trainings. And so it's broken up, like everything's selected so that nothing really has a chance to fatigue. When there's a fatigue part, you go on to another part. So lots of on the mat work, lots of things for the feet, obviously, but really more almost for the knees and the hips and the hamstrings and the quads. You will come away with a completely different understanding of your knees, why your knees have been feeling the way that they have, and the relationship between the knees and the feet. We'll be outside a little bit. Last time I like to use, like, there's big staircases and walking paths. So using some of the outside space for some gait work, a little bit of barefoot time, or you can do minimally shod time. We're gonna have some minimal footwear portion, where we have a chance to be looking at and trying shoes and all these different tools that there are available to help stretch the feet. We'll be working on bunions, like if you have that alignment in your foot, that's a big one. I didn't talk about that before, but that's a big sort of not injury, maybe not even necessarily painful, but you can see that your foot is transitioning in some way. You're not really sure what to do about it. All of those things, and then as everything else I already said, lots of rest time for yourself, lots of time to be in the headspace for the feet, but also eating outside in the beautiful patio with each other, and I think really being around other people stoked about feet, stoked about mindful movement and sustainable movement. Yeah,
sounds amazing. So cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
You'll never think about your feet in the same way again. You will never underthink about your feet again, is really what I mean. Like, we have not, maybe your foot's been bothering you and you've been ruminating about what to do about it, and there's been negative feelings towards your feet. I mean, I've worked through a foot injury that has taken me almost a year, and really I felt kept me away from the activities I love. But I had access to a lot of this information so I could keep moving. So my foot injury didn't have to completely derail the activities that I find meaningful and purposeful and bring me joy. And so when you leave, I don't think you'll ever feel as powerless as you have regarding situations that come up in your body.
Awesome. We're excited to have you back here at Art of Living Retreat Center this summer.
I can't wait. Yeah. Just for the food alone, I can't wait. And the view and the trails. Like, I like it all.
Yeah. You got some good footage on the trails last time you were here after your retreat.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like video footage and footage with our feet too. Well, I think feet is one of those areas that is chronically undermoved. So whether people were in the very sedentary very active category or somewhere in between. What their feet all had in common was very sedentary, either the total feet or patches within the foot that are very, very sedentary. And so foot pain really becomes a big debilitator after we get over 50. And I think it takes a lot of people by surprise because they didn't know that their feet needed as much movement as they do. And feet are very complex. I mean, there's 33 joints in each foot.
Wow.
They're probably the most complex out of all of our anatomy, head to toe, as far as structurally and mechanically the way they behave. We depend on them the most, and we sort of give them what they need the least. You know, like most people would list the exercise, like I know my hips need this and my shoulders need that. And I do think yoga can be an exception where people are getting barefoot sometimes and moving their body around on their feet. But there's a lot of precision when it comes to dialing down the nutrients in the feet. And I've written 2 books about feet and what they need. And so I wanted to make a retreat that sort of allowed someone to really get, I was going to say in the headspace of their foot. So is that the foot space? I don't know. You know, like to get into their foot space and to be like, this is like a 3-day investment into how well you will move in the future. So many issues of the foot are like a centimeter big when it comes to pain or injury. You know, a hairline fracture or a Morton's neuroma, you know, things like that. They're these tiny patches, but because our feet are underneath us at such a high volume, it doesn't matter that it's a centimeter bit. And when you try to walk around it, right, if your left foot's bothering you and you try to walk more heavily on your right foot, or you're trying to walk on your left foot still, but like more on the outside edge of it because you don't want that pressure beneath the second toe, you go on to then create hundreds or thousands of steps a day of sort of moving around the injury. And then what often tends to happen is the actual issue, that small issue, snowballs into other issues of different parts of the body. And so like that's really what I'm most interested in, helping people sort of see the cascading effect. And then also to get back to that ground zero of like what is happening in our gait that single patch is developing in the first place, to help break down sort of the difference between movement of the whole entire foot and movement within the foot. And I talk a lot about footwear, like there's a lot of repetitive loading that comes from what we put our feet in every single day. So to recognize that certain features of footwear might in fact be keeping you in what's happening with your foot. And even if you do the foot exercises, it doesn't really, it's sort of like negated or undone by what you're doing for your overall fitness program or what you're wearing while you're doing it. So it's just, feet are very nuanced, like their movement's very nuanced. They're just as dexterous as your hands. But, you know, like one exercise you could try is like, can you lift just your big toes by themselves? Can you lift your toes one at a time and put them down one at a time? And if not, then that's a really rich ground that we can start playing with, where you can be cultivating a lot of strength. But maybe most important to this discussion is I love foot mechanics, and very rarely do I also get to spend 3 days working a group of people through a more complicated idea with lots of movement and lots of physical examples, lots of chances for them to work on their gait and to be like, I didn't even know that walking had these stages in it. Or, you know, I read the book and I was thinking this, but this little piece, you know, that maybe was a line that I missed or misinterpreted or wasn't included in the book because it was more complex. Like being able to take something that you've been interested in and working on for a while through 3 days, you just cut through. I always think of like an onion. You know how an onion has that, it's got layers, yes, but that first layer is that dry, really hard to penetrate, crusty layer that's difficult to peel. You don't really know how to peel it off. And I think when we go to exercise or work on something, what happens is like, every day we have to deal with that dry layer because it's dried in the night. And if you always have to start with a dry layer, it's really hard to get to those deeper layers. And when you allow for multiple days, that drier layer doesn't come up again. Like you blow through it. And so that's why I personally like concentrated time, because I never get to teach as deeply either, right? Like I'm always having to teach. It's an Instagram live. Like tell me 15 things, and they're all superficial things. They're all important, but they're all at that dry
Surface level.
layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we get injuries or something like that and we're heartbroken, and there's a huge grieving process for all the things you're missing out on in life.
Oh, for
And
sure.
it's like, and you feel powerless. And that's when you kind of start going down the journey of trying to heal and figure these things out. So, and I'm sure a lot of people who will be joining us will have had that experience already and be responding to those injuries and ready. And then those that are being proactive also will have that, you know, freedom of being able to, when something does happen, being able to take action on it. So that's awesome. So do you have any other things you want to add, Katie, before we close up?
No, I don't think so. Just, I hope you can make it.
Yeah.
I mean, would love to meet more people out there, but no, I think I have sung my song celebrating the feet
Awesome.
fully, you know, in this chat.
Well, we really appreciate your passion about all of the parts of our bodies that we need the love and nourishment. So thank you for continuing to share that.